members of the Toledo Police Department who have been very helpful during this time, the FBI's Cleveland office, and certainly without fail I want to acknowledge again our police department's homicide unit, violent crime unit, commercial auto theft, and all the investigators. As you recall, I pointed out that we had roughly here in this southeast region over 100 staff from different police agencies, primarily Detroit. 28 hours then, we're up to about 54 hours. So just going ahead, we want to just advise you that we're still very much actively investigating this case. Again, I want to just offer my condolences again to the family of Deontae Mitchell and his mom, Crystal Mitchell, who I had a chance to speak briefly with yesterday. We want to also just update you on those who are in custody. As you know, yesterday we did take the third suspect into custody, and as of this morning, the suspect who we were looking for, Roy Potus, was taken into custody at his home without incident, and he is now in custody at the Detroit Detention Center. We've been working very closely with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. And I just want to stress that the prosecutor will make final determination on what the individuals will be charged with. Gregory Walker is in custody in the state of Ohio. He's being held on a felony probation violation, also held in the state of Ohio, and she is being held on a felony warrant there while waiting charges here. And as we pass through that part of the investigative work, then we'll be moving forward with extradition on those two suspects. So again, we'll continue to work with Toledo, Ohio. And finally, before turning it over to the mayor, I just want to say that I want to acknowledge the men and women of the 9th Precinct under the leadership of Commander Ewing, who has met with the owner of the business, along with a community leader, a very good meeting, and so this owner understands being part of the neighborhood is critically important. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over for the mayor for some remarks.
Thank you, Chief. The tragedy of Deontae Mitchell has touched the hearts of all Detroiters. To be here to start by thanking the Detroit Police Department and the other law enforcement agencies that did such remarkable work, the FBI Police and the Toledo Police Department, who were in with the federal agents on the earlier today who worked the case. And from the time Deontae was reported missing at 1 a.m. Wednesday morning until the time the suspects were apprehended in Ohio on Thursday, the dedication of these police agencies was nothing short of remarkable. And sometimes you miss the personal. These officers, many of them are parents themselves, and like every parent in this community who saw that video of Deontae being pushed into the car, you thought about your own children, and they did everything that they possibly could have done. The most terrible moments being Mayor of Detroit are when the phone rings late at night and I see that the call is coming from Chief James Craig, because the chief and I have an understanding that when tragedy hits, he calls me personally and briefs me on all the details. And I know when I answer that phone, I'm going to hear the story of another family whose life has been shattered by violence. And the story of Deontae being senselessly killed over such a small amount of money is one that's going to stay with us a long time. And I want Deontae's family to know that this whole city is grieving with them. When you lose a child in this community, it leaves a hole in the family, it leaves a hole in the neighborhood, it leaves a hole in their school, it leaves a hole in the in the entire community. And talking to the officers who did the investigation today, the story was very powerful about how much this community was behind them. You don't go from somebody committing a crime like this at 1 a.m. on Wednesday to having them in custody in another state on Thursday without help from the whole community. The officer said they've rarely seen anything like this. They had more than a half a dozen different individuals call with very valuable information that led them there. And I want to thank the media. You were an enormously positive partner in this. But people came from all over with critical pieces. And the last thing one of the officers said to me was, if we could build the relationship between the community and this department on every case, we could erase violence from this community. And we're going to do our best to do that, because no parent should have to suffer through what Deontae's family is suffering through today. And with that, I'll turn it back to Chief Craig.
So at this point, we open it for any questions that you might have.
Was the store owner cooperative from jump? We had heard that he may have caused some delay.
Yeah, we had some concern initially. I personally went out to the store. There was a child care issue. According to the owner, he didn't understand initially the severity. Certainly when the team and I approached the store, there was never any reluctance to give us access to the video. And since that time, he's been more than responsive. Again, I pointed out that there was a meeting as recent as this morning with a neighborhood leader, and it's worked well, or it's going to work well, I believe.
Are you able to discuss the roles that people play in this that are now in custody?
Well, this still is a very active investigation. I don't want to go into a lot of detail on that, only because certainly the Wayne County prosecutor will make decisions on what each person will be or charged with crime.
Chief, the mayor hit on this, a small amount about that, but what's the bottom line? What happened here? Can you describe
As we
the
often,
situation?
as we oftentimes say, inability to settle a conflict without resorting to violence. We're talking about a defenseless young man and an adult who was frankly 3 times his size. What's the point of a weapon? What's the point of abducting a child, a defenseless child? We're talking about a 13-year-old.
Any word on the manner of death yet?
No, in fact, we know that an autopsy being performed probably as we speak, and I think that's still continuing.
Do you think Deontae was killed? Do you think he was killed perhaps sometime Wednesday? What's the guess on that at this point?
I really don't want to make a guess. Certainly, I don't know. I think once the autopsy's complete, we'll have those answers. Not sure.
Chief, you've spoken out a lot about the whole no snitch mentality in the city, with more than half a dozen people coming forward so quickly after word got out. How is that changing? Is it changing too slowly for you? Is it quicker than you expected?
No, as I've reported out yesterday, I'm encouraged. Certainly when you talk about a horrific crime, especially a crime involving a child, and people know, we get tips. Certainly, as the mayor indicated, you have been a great asset to us. When we have said, we're going to find you, we're going to get you, and that picture goes out within hours sometimes. Suspects in custody. It took a little longer, a lot more work.
All right, guys, looks like Fox News. Detroit, so let me go ahead and take you back to this press conference.
The work that they did, and let the family know the community has them in our hearts.
Have you had a chance to meet?
Chief and I are talking about an appropriate way to do that, and I'm going to do it in a way that's respectful of their grieving process.
For as much as the community has been involved, do you think that some people could have helped initially faster when they see what clearly looks like at the very least, maybe a non-custodial parent or a stranger pushing this kid in this car, and people, you can see they're on the video watching. I mean, do you think people just turn a blind eye, or they just didn't know what was going on, or they should have done more sooner?
All of those. I mean, certainly we can reflect and say something should have happened sooner, that people need to be involved and be inquisitive. Certainly an individual with a gun. It was no secret that the suspect was armed. We have the video of it. You've seen the images, not only when Deontae was forced into the vehicle, but also when the suspect returned to the liquor store sometime later. He was still in possession of a gun. And so my question is, what happened? Did anyone see him enter that store with a weapon? And why didn't someone call the police in reference to that? So we can always say more should be done. We're in this together. When we see something that just doesn't fit, we need to say something. We need to notify local law enforcement. As you know, just yesterday, we recognized members or staff from Chrysler Corporation who undoubtedly put themselves in harm's way to deal with an armed assailant, and their quick, decisive actions probably saved lives. And I call Chrysler, the Jefferson Counter plant, a neighborhood. And those neighborhoods says we're not going to tolerate this. And no doubt that their actions, quick actions, may have saved a life or two.
Just real quick, so Walker returned to the store even after he took Deontae?
Based on where we are in our investigation and the video, there was an image of him, and you might have that video, where he's actually inside of the store. That was after the abduction.
So what there was and forgive me if I don't know these details, I wasn't working that particular day, but so he left, took Deontae, returned to the store looking for the other child?
Not certain. There's some speculation he was looking for the other child. Unknown why he returned to the liquor store. Just don't know at this point.
I was a couple minutes late here. What is the status of the other two suspects, and when can we expect one of them to be, the one in Ohio, to be extradited?
Was two in Ohio, female companion, both being held on felony warrants. Certainly, we're working with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office for final charges and then extradition. So they are in custody in Ohio.
And she's being held on the felony warrant pertaining to this case?
Not to this case. These are two separate felony warrants. As you know, we have this crime that we're dealing with, but they're also an existing felony warrant. I think the felony warrant on that person is uttering and publishing. And so we're moving forward very quickly and working very closely with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office.
When's the earliest you think that could happen?
I don't want to put a timeline. We're working around the clock, basically.
Which charges are you hoping for with the others? I mean, I know you can't.
I don't want to get into the charges. I really would defer to the prosecutor on that.
Okay.
I think the fact that we have all four suspects in custody is a right step, and we'll just wait for a final determination. All four are in custody. Portis was the only outstanding suspect who was taken into custody this morning without incident.
One last question.
Where was that? I'm sorry. Where was he taken into custody?
I believe he turned himself in. He turned himself in. We had conversations with him prior to. He turned himself in. We took him into custody. We had conversation with him prior to that.
This store wasn't a part of Project Greenlight?
Was not, but I can tell you preliminarily, based on the meeting that Commander Ewing from the 9th Precinct had, he desires to become a Greenlight partner. He expressed that he wants to be part of the solution in the neighborhood, and so this is something he's expressed. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Pretty good.
Quite a sad.
Family tonight, they're shocked and angry over yet another senseless crime claiming the life of a child. Fox 2's Erica Erickson joins us now live from the neighborhood where the kidnapping took place. Erica.
Yeah, it's that sick feeling in the pit of your stomach, Monica, when you hear that another child has been killed. And Detroiters say that feeling has become the norm, and it's time to say enough is enough and hold each other accountable.
13-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 5-year-olds. It is not okay. Every week it's a new baby.
Outraged, disgusted, and hurt. A Detroit community feeling the sharp pain of another child killed. 13-year-old Deontae Mitchell abducted from his party store Tuesday night. His body found in a field near Harper and Baldwin Thursday morning.
The way he died, how brutal and cold-blooded that was. My heart is bursting for his mom and his family.
Deontae's cousin says after a man named Gregory Walker dropped money outside, Deontae picked up the cash, then tried to give Walker the money back, but he says Walker refused.
He ain't do nothing to nobody.
Deontae's cousin says he tried to help Deontae, but Walker pointing the gun at him, taking Deontae. His last words to his cousin, "Help me."
That's all I'm gonna be looking at every day. It's hurt.
Community members, church leaders near the field where Deontae was found. It's another area these neighbors say has become desensitized to violence.
We need a curfew that need to be enforced because it's dangerous. It's a different time.
If we can stand on these corners in our spare time, if we can come out to these stores, if we can walk our children to the store and back and forth home, then we can help prevent these type of things.
As Deontae went missing Tuesday night, many ask now, why wasn't there an Amber Alert pushed out? An alarm to everyone's cell phones.
Not one person had their phone go off for this Amber Alert. Not one person.
Michigan State Police tell Fox 2 since they didn't have a license plate, the alert didn't meet the criteria for what they call a wireless emergency alert. But these folks say that's not good enough.
It is important to the community, to our community, that we help look for these babies. And if we're not told about it, everybody is not on Facebook. Everybody don't go and scroll through their Facebook, so how will we know?
Now planning yet another vigil for another Detroit child. Words to Deontae and those missing him tonight.
We're here, and we're here as a family. You're not alone. That the pain that you feel, we're feeling that with you together.
People have been stopping us all day talking about how sad they are when they heard about Deontae, just thinking of his family tonight. A lot of community members will be gathering. There'll be a city prayer over at the Riverwalk right by the Ren Center at 7 o'clock tonight, and also a vigil for Deontae and his family here at Nino's. That's where Deontae was taken. That vigil will be at 8:30. If anyone can make it, of course, I'm sure a lot of people will be here tonight. Reporting live on Detroit's East Side, I'm Erica Erickson, Fox 2 News.
Story. Let's go ahead and go through the Fox Detroit website. Here's another story related to Deontae Mitchell. Autopsy planned on his body. Really just a tragic, tragic story. So sad.
Examiner's office will release its report showing the cause of death for a 13-year-old boy kidnapped and then murdered on the city's east side. It's been a difficult story to report. Fox 2's Robin Murdoch has been following the story all morning and joins us with an update. I know, Robin, difficult to report, difficult for the police officers, and of course, such a tragedy for this family.
It is difficult for everybody, for the community who has really embraced this family as well. I am told that an autopsy is being conducted on Deontae Mitchell right now as we speak. An autopsy that will show what the final moments of his life were like, providing some answers and hopefully some closure for the teen's family. This as police continue to search for one more suspect connected to his murder.
Deontae was a very sweet young boy. He was very lovable. He was very quiet. He was all A student. You know, he was very smart.
At just 13 years old, Deontae Mitchell made a lasting impression on everyone he met, and now what happened to the teen for picking up some money that dropped and allegedly belonged to this man, Gregory Walker, has a community overcome with sadness once again. Police say this surveillance video shows the armed 45-year-old grabbing Mitchell by the arm and forcing him into the back seat of a black Chevy Impala on Tuesday night outside Nino's Market on the city's east side. A tip led investigators to the young boy's body in a field just a couple miles away on Thursday morning, ending all hope for a safe return.
The way he died, how brutal and cold-blooded that was. My heart is bursting for his mom in his family.
Investigators eventually found Walker hiding out in a Toledo, Ohio hotel also on Thursday and took him into custody, we are told, along with a woman. They also arrested Ernest Coleman at a Detroit home later that same day for his involvement in Mitchell's murder and continue to search for 51-year-old Roy Portis, who police say is also connected. While they continue to try and track him down, dozens of Mitchell's family members, friends, and even complete strangers tried to make sense of this. They gathered outside the Eastside Party Store where Mitchell was taken from to remember the teen and reflect on a tragedy that's happening way too often these days.
Our life is worth more than money. His life was worth more than money at the hands of somebody grown to take an innocent child's life over a few dollars. It's sad.
Now, Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan released a statement just a short time ago. It reads in part that no child, no family should have to experience such an unspeakable tragedy. Our city has endured the loss of too many of our children as a result of senseless violence, and it needs to stop. The incomprehensible circumstances of Deontae's death make it even more painful for this community. Detroiters will do what we always do and wrap our arms around this grieving family. Now, Mayor Mike Duggan is expected to attend a media briefing at noon today, so in about an hour from now, that is when the chief of police is expected to update everyone on the murder investigation. Of course, stay with Fox 2 News for the very latest on that. Reporting from outside Detroit Police Headquarters.
Again, that video was pre-recorded. We already watched that press conference live. Again, a very sad story out of Detroit. We're going to cut away from this now and show you guys some live aerials. Coming out of Texas, flooding in, guys. Pretty dramatic images coming in. Flooding in Texas.
To investigate the problem of Reagan's office failing to mail hundreds of voter pamphlets, thousands of voter pamphlets before the election. The Attorney General wants to know why it took more than a week for the mistake to be revealed and any laws were broken in the process. Another lawsuit challenging how Maricopa County handled the presidential election. The suit says the county put voters at a disadvantage by getting rid of 140 polling places. That was one reason why some folks had to wait in line for hours. The Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under the law filed the suit, still trying to get answers from the registrar offices and others. They stated they believed that more people were going to be doing the vote by mail. Texas still having problems with flooding, but boy, the rescuers are still out there saving folks. You can see them, for example, right on this raft, finding people stranded and pulling them to safety. In this particular case, it was after a man got stuck in his car when the fast-rising waters flipped his vehicle upside down. Eventually, a chopper spots him, so people like this could be there to bring him to safety. We're seeing those kind of scenes play out over and over, you guys.